Well, hello everybody and welcome. This is episode 60 of the Model Shop. We've got a great show in store for you guys tonight. Had a little delay getting things started again here, trying to get everything in order, but we're cranking things up. Glad to be with you guys tonight. We're going to do a lot of work on the bench tonight, everyone. We're working on a couple of brand new model kits. We're starting off with the Airwolf kit tonight. We've been wanting to build this one up since we got it here a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to start working on the Starsky and Hutch Torino. So we got a lot of work to show you on the bench. We've got some other things to share with you guys tonight. We've got a special guest that's going to appear with us a little bit later, the HAL 9000 computer. A lot of you guys remember him from 2001: A Space Odyssey. He's on a deep space mission right now. He'll be joining us here shortly, and we'll talk to him a little bit. And then we're going to take you over to, we've got some a look to show you of the update on the 1/2500 scale Battlestar Galactica that I've been working on. We'll probably start off with that first. And then we're going to have a look at the another model kit release that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be the brand new 22-inch Space 1999 Eagle, the large kit that they've done a lot of work on and make it a lot more accurate. We'll have a look at the box art and talk about it a little bit. So we'll kick everything off in a couple of minutes, everybody. We're going to come back and after we look at our sponsors, and we'll start off with some updates on the 2500 scale Battlestar Galactica. See you with that in just a couple seconds, everybody. Okay, everybody, well, here we are back with you, and we're working some more tonight on our beautiful 1/2500 scale Battlestar Galactica model. I've been working on the rear part of the model, and I've started to do the work to get my main engine drive set up here. I had to install some wiring here to be able to do our lighting on the back of the engines. We talked last time about how we lit the sublight engine here, the pod in the center. So now we've got to do the work here to get our faster than light drive engines lit, these outer pods here, which we have 4 of. So what I've been working on is opening everything up on this so that we can run our wires. These are solid cast resin parts here in the back, as you can see. So what I had to do is I had to drill a little hole through here and tunnel into the center part of it, and then make another hole where I can come through and bring my wiring out so we can attach an LED and light this up on the inside. I've done the same thing on both sides here, and I've drilled corresponding holes into the sides of the main hull here to run our wires through and up into that assembly, and then pass the wires back through this lower section here and meet everything in the middle. So what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to go ahead and run these wires through, and we're going to get these engines glued down onto the top here. Now we've primed all these parts, so what I'm going to start off with first here is I'm going to take my little wire wheel. If I can find it, it should be right here someplace. what did I do with my wire wheel? I've got a little wire wheel that we wanted to put on our Dremel tool here to help us clean these parts up a little bit. Well, I'll go to my backup plan here. My wire wheel will probably show up right after I finish this, but we'll just go ahead and sand this off. We've got to have a nice clean area here so that we can make sure our glue, we're going to be using CA glue to glue these down. We want to make sure this is going to bond really well, so we don't want this primer in the way of our glue and not give us a good bond on this. So we'll just work this down a little bit. Anyways, my plan was I have a little small wire wheel for my Dremel. I was just going to buzz that off there real quick, but like I said, I'll probably find that after we're done shooting this segment. That's the way things usually go. Okay, so we've got a nice little area opened up on there where our glue can make contact. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the inside of these parts now, where this area basically touches on here. What I've done here too is these index holes here where they have the corresponding pins on the outside of the hull here. I've gone ahead and taken my Dremel tool that has this little knurling tool on the tip, and I've opened these up a little bit because the holes weren't lining up quite exact, and it was giving me difficulty getting the parts to sit down on there all the way flush. They weren't bottoming out all the way, so a simple trick there just to open those up just a little bit, and took care of that problem. Okay, so you can see we've got those pretty well cleaned up. So we've got one that goes on each specific side here. We'll just kind of take a look. Looks like this one goes on this side over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to run our wire through this now, and up and out the back. Grab a hold of this with my tweezers. I'm just going to kind of pull this through here like this. See it sitting down on there nice and flat and everything. I like to look things over real good before I apply my glue because, as I mentioned in the last segment, CA glue on these resin models, once you do it, it's a done deal. So we're going to go ahead and put our glue down on this now. I'm going to put a little bit on both surfaces here. I hope the heater noise in the background isn't too much for you guys tonight. It's really been chilly here in San Antonio. We're definitely getting a dose of fall weather here. So hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. Alright, we've got that making contact on there. And I'm just going to take a little bit of my kicker and hit it from the back side here. And that will sneak its way right up in there and start making contact and force that to dry. Like I said, I'm using a slower curing CA here, which gives me a little bit of time to move things around if I do put something on a little bit crooked or don't like what I have. About 20 or 30 seconds, and you better make your move, otherwise you're stuck. So we wound up pretty good over there. Let's do the same thing on this side. Pass our wires through. I've left myself plenty of extra wire there so that I can work with my LED and then trim that down later. Just make sure this is sitting on here the same as the other side. So I had to play around with those mounting pins just a little bit. I feel like it's sitting on there pretty good. measure twice and cut once, as the carpenter guys like to say. So we just want to be really sure here. But I think we're ready to go for it. Let's go ahead and get this one worked down on there the same way. It's got just the slightest little bit of movement there. Don't feel like I'm quite getting into that contact pin. This side here is being a little bit fussy. That's looking pretty good. Just taking a look at it from the back here to make sure it's equal. Looks good to me. We're going to go ahead and hit it with our kicker now on the bottom side here and let that work its way up in. Okay, I like what I have here, guys. It's looking good. You can see this starts to add some nice shape to the model. This detail area up in here is really beautiful too. We're going to do a lot of nice shading and weathering on that and paint in some of that detail once we start doing our paint work. Probably by this week, in the middle of the week or so, I'm going to put up a new update on the TrekWorks channel with some updating on this. We're going to be getting close to starting to do some of the paint work on this, which is going to be really, really fun. Like I mentioned, we're going to be doing the Aztec paneling on this, so we've got all this rib area on the whole entire model that we've got to start laying down our patterns on, so that we can do this layer after layer. Like I mentioned, we're going to start off with a certain color, and then we're going to layer a few of the Aztecs on and cover that up, and then start laying a second set down. Probably do that maybe 3 or 4 times, so we have 3 or 4 different colors of panels on this. And we've got the same process we've got to do here on the bottom for the engine detail here on the bottom, these other 2 pods that go on, but we've got to install the bottom half of the ship first, because they kind of overlay over the top of this. But things are coming along really good on this. It's been a wonderful kit to work with so far, and had quite a few questions come in this week from people who are interested in getting one of these, and my opinion of the kit and everything. And as I said, it's a really great kit for a resin kit. There's no pits or anything on this. They did a fantastic job casting this. Okay guys, so that was just a quick look at the next step. We're going to save the rest of the work here for our update on the TrekWorks channel a little bit later this week. We're going to come back now, and we're going to start, we're going to head over to the spray booth, and we're going to start prepping the body for the Starsky and Hutch Ford Torino that we're working on. We've got to do some initial sanding on that one, and we're going to lay down a coat of primer on that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're going to mix up the paint color for that one. So we'll be right back after the break, guys. Stay tuned. Okay, everybody, we're back with you again, and we're over to the spray booth area now, and we're taking a look at the body that we have for the Starsky Hutch Torino. This one is, I'm going to go ahead and shut the heater off here for a second because it's probably blowing you guys out. Uh, this is our Starsky Hutch Torino, and we've got this one ready to go here. I'm going to start with my initial prep work, doing this one, getting it ready for laying down some primer on this. So what I'm using here on this is I've got a little bit of this, one of these Scotch-Brite pads. This is really great for doing your sanding prep work on one of these model car kit bodies, because it doesn't put some really deep nasty scratches in it, but it'll scuff up the surface just enough to where we'll get a nice bond on top of our surface here. So I'm just going to start rubbing this down a little bit. The nice thing about this too is that it doesn't create a lot of dirt or deep scratches and a lot of dust, so it just puts enough of a scuff on it to make it bond really good, like I mentioned. And we want to make sure we do that. I'm thinking ahead a little bit here because this kit, as we showed you in the review a couple of weeks ago, it does come with the decals for the big, what they call the zebra stripe that goes on the side of this car. But those decals, they can be kind of finicky, and I'm a little bit worried that if we have a problem with the decals, if they rip and come apart, or if they don't fit really good or whatever, that I may have to mask that off and paint that stripe on this body. So in kind of thinking ahead for that, in preparation for that, I'm going to make sure that we've got a really, really good bond on this. If I'm painting a car a solid color, or any model that I'm doing, if I'm painting it a solid color, and I'm not too worried about doing a lot of masking and things like that, where I'm not going to be painting a lot of overlay colors and things, this step is not quite as important. But when you're doing, you're going to be painting something with any kind of masking or anything like that, it's really important that you have a really, really good bond on top of everything, because if you don't, you're going to wind up lifting paint off of that, and that can be a real disaster and cause you all kinds of problems, and you don't want to do that if you can avoid it. So this extra prep work definitely pays off. Let's go ahead and just pull it off of here. It'll be easy to sand until we get this done. But I've been waiting for this kit to come out for a long time. I was going to kind of hold off building it for a while, but I decided it would be a great little project to do on the show here. We like to build all kinds of different models here and show you all the different techniques and everything. So this will be a really fun one to work on. And quite a few of you asked me some questions about this one too through emails and stuff after we did the review, and it's a great little kit. I'm really pleased with it. It looks great. It should be pretty nice when it's finished up, and another one of our kind of movie icon cars we can add to our collection. So we've got the body pretty well scuffed down now here, as far as most of the areas that we're going to paint, and it didn't leave much of a residue on it or anything. So let's go ahead and do the hood now a little bit. Just to get this cleaned up, got to use a little bit of sandpaper here on this back edge where where it came off of the sprue. It left a little bit of a mark there, so we'll fix that up. The inside of the hood I'm not going to worry too much about. Now, I will point out that before I came over here and set these up, about a week ago or so, I did wash the parts in some warm soap and water. I use Dawn dishwashing detergent, and that makes it that's a really good and inexpensive way or product to use to get the mold release agent off of these parts, so we make sure we have a nice clean surface when we do our paint work here. And this just took a quick little scuff to get rid of that sort of indentation that we had there at the back of the hood where the sprue was attached. Just go ahead and clean this back up. And I'm just going to use a little bit of compressed air here to get rid of my dust on the part. Put this back in place. Same thing on the body here. Okay. We'll get this ready to go, guys. Seen a couple of guys out there. In fact, if next time I see Chris Cortell, I'm going to ask him about. He's got a really nice little apparatus for painting his car bodies. I noticed his last video he's working on the little Plymouth Barracuda that he's building up, and he's got a nice little jig to hold the body in there. I'm going to have to ask him about that and see what exactly that is. I'd like to have one of those myself. This little method I use here works pretty good, but always looking for something a little bit better. We're using our tack rag here. You guys have seen me use this over and over. It's from the automotive field. It's basically a piece of cheesecloth. It's got an adhesive embedded into it, which will take any of the dust and everything that might be stuck on our surface here and just gently lift it off. You don't want to, rub on this or buff on it. You're just kind of dragging it over the surface here, and that removes any of the lint or anything that might be on this surface. Not so much important during the primer stage because we're going to prime it and then we're going to sand it again, so any little bit of dust and everything that might be on it will sand it off there. But when you get to the paint stage, you definitely want to do that on top of your primer because that'll kind of help you out with avoiding getting any kind of dust or dirt in your paint job, which we never want to see that. Okay guys, like I said, for purposes of making sure our paint's going to stick really good on this, we're using this adhesion promoter. This is from Duplicolor. It's readily available. You can find this at most of your auto parts supply stores like Advanced Auto, O'Reilly's, or any of the ones that you have in your area. Should be able to find it. It's about $6 or $7 for a can of this stuff, and a can of this doing these kind of models will last you a long time, and it has a really good shelf life, so you don't have to worry about it getting old or anything like that. So we just dust down a little coat of this, a light coat, on top of the entire surface here. It's basically clear. It dries to a sort of a flat to semi-flat sheen when it's dry. It only takes a minute or two for it to dry, and you don't want to wait too long after you apply this before you actually go and start doing your primer. So whenever you're getting ready to prime or whatever, that's when you want to use this. You don't want to do this and then wait like 2 or 3 days. And I'm just going to use my heat gun to force dry this a little bit. And like I said, this stuff dries almost instantly. It's pretty quick. You can definitely see it change when it dries. It turns to a, like I said, sort of a dull looking finish. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over it again with our tack rag here, just to make sure nothing is stuck on it. I'm kind of an eccentric about that, and like I said, not so much important on the primer stage, but definitely important during your paint stage. Okay guys, we're ready for some primer on this. Now, the primer that I've been using lately is, for quite a while now actually, is this Home Shades primer available from Walmart. It's like $1.87 a can, and I've been really pleased with it. I've been, I'm constantly looking for inexpensive paints when it comes to primer and things like that. So, I'm always trying different things and whether I like it or not, and I've had really good luck with this. I've built the last probably 10 or 15 models you guys have seen here all using this. I have had no problem with it at all. It goes on nice and smooth. It dries really fast, and it has a really nice sanding characteristic to it when it's dry, which is what I always look for in a primer. If you use a primer and it doesn't want to sand very well, in other words, when you're sanding, you don't see a nice fine powder coming off of it, it's usually not that great of a primer. It's not really doing its job. Primer is meant to kind of fill in some of the small and micro imperfections, and then you sand that down and get rid of, it fills all that in. You sand it down and get a smooth surface, and that's your prep for your basic coat of paint. So if it doesn't want to sand very good, if it comes off in chunks, or if it looks really shiny almost when you're done sanding it, it's probably not that good of a primer. It's, and this is a lacquer-based primer, which I always prefer over an acrylic-based. So here we go, guys. I'm gonna just get this shaken up real good, and we're going to use our heat gun here in combination with the primer. Is the way I like to do it. That way I don't lay it on so thick that it gets, it takes a long time to dry. I'll spray a little dust coat on this, dry it, and then, just kind of layer it on like that. So here we go. Gonna spray a little bit here on the side and on the top. I'll go ahead and warm this up a little bit. I stay about 6 to 8 inches away. I'm running this heat gun on low, and you can use this. You can use a hair dryer too. We've talked about this over and over, but some of you guys might be new to the show tonight or new to modeling. This is a nice little technique you can use for helping you speed things along. Nobody likes to sit there and wait for their paint to dry for 2 or 3 days. And this will help you out. This will help you out a lot too if you're working in an area where you've got a lot of humidity. So we're just going to keep layering it on here. I have to go ahead and turn my ventilation back on, guys. Hopefully it's not too noisy for you. Let's go ahead and hit this side here a little bit. Body's looking really good. It's nice and smooth. I don't see any junk in the stuck to it or anything like that, so that's good. Get the engine bay here a little. Not too worried about the inside of the body. I'll go around the insides a little bit with some of my red paint that I mix up in the areas that will show. But for the interior, such as the headliner and around these sail panels on the inside, I'll just hand paint some black paint on that when we get to that point a little bit further on. And we don't need a super thick coat of primer, guys. You don't want to bury your details too much either. Just enough to make sure it's completely covered. I'm using a solvent-based real automotive paint here, so it's really important using that type of paint that we have all the bare plastic completely covered with our primer, because the solvent-based paint will attack bare plastic. It will being it's, it has a solvent in it, will slightly, it can cause, micro blistering and things like that. So we definitely don't want to paint over bare plastic with that. Okay, that looks like it's going to be it for the primer. Maybe just a little bit more up here on the front. I'm really pleased with the mold on this body. It really looks accurate for a Ford Torino. Used to see these cars running around all the time, worked on a few of them back in the day, and it's a really good likeness of the car from Starsky and Hutch. I know they had a few problems getting it just right when they were working on it. That's why it was delayed for a while before they released it. Let's set this off to the side. Actually, we can kind of show you a little close-up of it here, guys, and you can see how nice it turned out. Set that off to the side, and we'll work on our hood a little bit now. Sure, get around the edges and stuff. This does have some sort of quasi hinges on it, if you want to call them that. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave them on there or not. We'll see how they work. It's kind of made where you can kind of lift the hood up and tilt it back and hold it in place, but they don't always work so well. We'll see how that works out here in a little bit. Okay. Alright everybody, well I really like what I see here. So far so good. I'll show you the hood here up close. Nice and smooth, guys. Got no junk in it at all. It looks really great. It's ready to be sanded, and then we'll work with our paint. What I'm going to do, everybody, is I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to start mixing up my paint for this, and we'll show you what we're going to do with that. Be right back, everybody. Okay, everybody, back with you again, and it's time to make up our paint for this. A lot of you guys have asked me about how I mix up my paint and everything, so we'll take you through that here again tonight. I've got some basic red that I'm working with here in my 8-ounce bottles. This is my automotive paint. This is a basic toner is what this is. It's not an actual mixed up pre-made color or anything. I basically use, I have a set of several different toners that I use, and I start out with those, and then I adjust the color that I want based on matching it to the subject. So this red that I've got here in this bottle, got to shake it up just a little bit, is it's raw paint, so it has to be reduced with our reducer that we have here, and I'll show you that in just a couple seconds. I'm just going to mix up enough that I know is going to be about the right amount we're going to need to paint the body, and we'll kind of get this out of the way. But I'll show you that the color that we have here is a sort of a, you know, it's a very bright red, so it's obviously going to be a little bit too bright for the car. This car was more of a subdued kind of a red. So in order to bring this down a little bit, I'm going to mix in a little bit of black, and that's going to take the color of this down and take that bright edge off of it and start getting it closer to what we're familiar with on the Starsky and Hutch car. So just starting off with adding a couple little drops here to start with, going real conservative. I don't want to overdo it. It's much harder to bring the color back than it is to, it's much harder to bring it back to being bright than it is to darken it up. So I'm just going to stir it up here a little bit and see what I think. And it changed a little bit, but not enough yet. We're going to come down a little bit more. This might take 3 or 4 or 5 times to try this before we get it where we want it. And you can definitely see it's making a difference there. I think we're only going to need maybe one more shot at this and we'll get really close. Okay, I think that's getting really close, guys. I think I'm going to go do just maybe 1 or 2 more drops here. I'm just kind of glancing over at the box art on the model kit as I'm doing this, and I think we're really close here. I'll grab the box and kind of show it to you guys. Of course, the color that you're going to see here through this camera may not be exactly right, but you can see it's sort of a subdued, almost orangish red here, and I think we're going to be really close with this color right here. It always looks a little darker in the cup than it does when you actually spray it too, which has been my experience over the years, so I think we're going to go with that right there. And so what we've got to do now, guys, is we've got to reduce this. Now I've got my my reducer right here. This is the Nason full base reducer that I'm using. This is the mid temperature stuff. This is what I use pretty much for everything. It allows me to spray in, you know, a little bit cooler or a little bit warmer temperatures, kind of right in the middle. And so we just have to thin this down a little bit now. So I'm just going to pour a little bit in here until I get the paint to the consistency that that I know is going to work well with our airbrush here. They recommend about a 3-to-1 mixture ratio for the paint and the reducer. So, but what I go by, just, you know, from years of doing this, is I just kind of stir it up and make sure it stirs. You know, it takes a moment, even though you're stirring it, it takes a moment for the reducer to start kind of breaking down the paint and to get your true consistency. If you only stir it for a second or two, your reducer's kind of sitting on the top and your thick paint's kind of on the bottom. So you want to make sure you give it a chance to break the paint down here, and we'll see what we get. And then what I do is I just basically lift my stir stick up out of here and let it drizzle, and I can tell by the consistency of that what I need it to look like when I'm ready to put it in my airbrush and spray. It's still just a little bit too thick, so we'll just go a little bit more here. This method here too, with using the solvent-based paint, you want to use your paint fairly soon when it's sitting out in the open like this, because the solvent is what actually makes this paint dry. So it will literally start evaporating right out of the cup here and leave the paint behind and start to get thick again. So when you're working with this, you want to definitely use it fairly soon after you've mixed it up. I'm getting closer to where I want to be. So the next step to this, guys, is a very important step. Paint, as it sits for a while, it forms micro chunks in the paint. It just happens over time. So what you want to do is you want to strain your paint before you spray it using this type of paint. And really, typically true with any type of paint, whether you're using Tamiya or whatever, if you're spraying it through an airbrush, you should always strain it, especially if it's been sitting for a little while. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put this strainer on this cup here, and we're going to transfer this paint from this one to this one, going through the strainer. And I'm only going to use a little bit of this because I'm going to save some backup paint. And that's another tip that I always try to share with everybody. Always make a little bit more paint than you actually think you're going to need in case you have to do any kind of repairs or anything goes wrong. And you want to be able to match your paint if you have to do any blending or touching up. And so we're going to go ahead and check the consistency of this paint now. And it's our clean version. It's still just a tiny little bit too thick, guys, so I'm just going to add a little bit more reducer. And that should get us just about where we want to be. So much for that scientific method, huh? The 3-to-1. Like I said, it's just all based on experience. I've been doing this for many, many years, and I'm mainly looking at these drips now to see what I'm getting. And I'm looking for something that's a consistency not quite like water, but more like milk, if that makes any sense. But that's exactly where I am right now. I'm happy with that, so we're going to kind of set this off to the side. We'll get our airbrush ready. And I've got to flush my airbrush here. I used it last time with some black, and I did clean it, but we could have a little bit of leftover in there. We don't want to have that, so we're just going to flush it here real quick. Get rid of that. Okay, now we're all set and ready to go. So we'll go ahead and pour our paint in our cup now. I'm just going to do a little test shot here on the side of our... Yep, I'm really liking the consistency of how it's spraying, so we're ready to go, guys. Time to bring the body back over here, and we'll go ahead and spray this down. Actually, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go over this with some 600 sandpaper first. Don't want to skip that step. And smooth out our primer just a little bit. Just a quick little scuff here. This primer that I'm using sprays down so smooth that it barely even needs to be sanded. I mean, it's, like I said, do yourself a favor, guys, if you have a Walmart in your area, and I'm not sure, there may be some other chains that carry that, but it's the Home Shades gray primer. I think they also offer it in the red oxide type, if that's what you're more comfortable with using. But it's great primer. Like I said, I'm really, really pleased with it. I've had no problems with it, no reactions or anything weird. So good primers are hard to find, that's for sure, and especially affordable primers. You know, I was using the automotive-based TranStar for a long time, and that stuff costs $7 or $8 for a can, you know, the same size. So for that one can, I can get 3 or 4 cans of this stuff. So it's definitely a good deal. I'm going to go ahead and pull the body off of here again so we make sure we get all the areas covered real good here. This is just regular 600 grit paper. It's a fine grit. Make sure we concentrate on the tops here a lot, because that's really the areas you see most on your car models. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's put this back in place. And we're going to use our tack rag here again and get the rest of this dust buildup from our sanding off of it. Let's give this a new turn here so we get a nice fresh surface. You can see I'm not rubbing on this hard at all. I'm just basically dragging it over the top of it, and it's picking all that dust right off of there. Looks real good. Okay, let's do the same thing on our hood now. Just give this a quick sand. Looks real good. You can see our primer dried really fast here, guys. It's already set up for us real nice here with that, giving a little bit of heat assist. We'll see about these hinges, guys. They're definitely some unique hinges on that. I can always clip them off if I don't like them. We'll just go ahead and paint it the way it is. Okay. Time to move some stuff out of the way here, guys. I don't like a lot of clutter in my work area, even though I've been really busy. I've got about 5 models at a time I'm working on right here, so I apologize about the little bit of a messy bench. I usually don't have it this messy, but we'll kind of clear things off here a little bit and get ready to go. Gonna go ahead and kick on my ventilation here. Get that ready. Get rid of our strainer cups. And I think we're all set, guys. One more quick dust down here. I think we're ready to paint, guys. The fun part. All right. Let's get our airbrush ready to go. Yep, I'm happy with the flow. Okay, guys, here we go. I'm going to start off on the bottom first. Make sure I get these bottom edges real good. Inside our wheel wells. Okay, going on to this side now. Okay, you can see I'm really pleased with the color, guys. It's just about spot on. I really think it matches that color exactly. It looks sort of orangish red, just like we wanted, and darkened it down a little bit. So now we're going to go ahead and hit the trunk and the roof. Ran out of paint. Some more paint loaded up, guys. Got a nice consistent flow there, so let's hit it again. Paint has had a chance to dry just a little bit already, so I'm just going to go over it real lightly again one more time. Okay, guys, I'm really pleased with that. It looks great. And we got a nice consistent even color on it. It's not darker or any streaking going on at all there. It looks really nice. So we'll set that off to the side, and we're going to go for our hood. I'm going to run the tack rag over that just one more time, just in case any dust landed on it while we had it sitting there. Like I said, it may be a little eccentric that I keep doing that, but I just hate getting crud in my paint, because it really is a pain to go back and clean it up later. You got to sand it and do it all over again. So it's looking good. Here we go. We're going to hit the hood now. sure we get around the edges there real good. The bottom side I'm not worried about because I'm going to do that in black. I'll mask this thing off a little later and do the inside with some semi-gloss black. And there we go, guys. There's our hood. Looks great. No junk in it at all. Looks really clean. So now I'm just going to take my heat gun again and just lightly go over these. Again, staying about 6 to 8 inches away. Doesn't take much. You can immediately see the paint turn a little bit dull when I hit it. As I said, we're just evaporating the solvent out of the paint is what we're doing with this heat. And that helps it to start on its drying process. I like to do that because the faster the surface of the paint is dry, the less chance we have of some dust or lint or stuff landing on it and getting embedded into the paint. If it lands on top and just settles there, if the paint's sort of semi-dry, it'll just sort of wipe right off when we continue on here. Okay, guys, so there's our basic paint job on the Torino, and we're going to let this dry now. We're going to go back over to the bench, and we're going to take a look at some of the box art for the upcoming 22-inch Eagle kit, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And about that time, I think we'll be ready to talk to Hal. He's on a deep space mission, and we should be hearing from him pretty shortly. We got an interview scheduled with him tonight. So be right back, guys. One more break.
Okay guys, back with you again everybody, and we came out real nice on our Torino. I wanted to share with you guys real quick a couple pictures that I found online of the 22-inch Space 1999 Eagle 1 kit that's coming out. As you can see here, this is the new box art from MPC, and this is going to be a fantastic kit, guys. It's supposed to hit maybe a day or two before Christmas. I wish they would have been able to get it out a little sooner than that. I think they would have done some great sales with it. People would have picked it up for Christmas gifts and things like that. The price that I saw was the kit was going to retail for around $115 to $120. It's a skill level 2 kit, as you can see here. It comes, I've looked up the parts count on it, and I think they were still working on that. They've released a couple of test shots of it, and it's a much more detailed model than the kit you saw us just finish up here, the original 12-inch kit. The areas up there where you see the girders and everything, which are solid on the old kit, are all open now with all that detail on the inside. And it actually features spring-loaded landing struts, which is really cool, just like it had in the television show. Whenever you saw it touch down or lift off, you saw some articulating action there at the landing gear. That feature is built into this new model. So it's really, really cool. And they're saying that they're going to have a much improved decal set for it, and they're also going to offer the different versions of the Eagle. Now here we see the picture of the accessory pack that you can get with the kit, which is the actual real machined aluminum engine cones and the lifting cones for the bottom, and some other small detail parts, which is really, really sweet. Like I said, I can't wait to get my hands on this. I had a lot of fun building the 12-incher, but I'm going to have a lot of fun doing a build on this, and I'm going to do a nice diorama with it and everything of the Eagle landing pad that we saw from the show. Planning ahead for that here, so I hope you guys will pick one of these kits up. It's a little on the expensive side, but I think it'll definitely be worth it. It's modeled right off the actual studio prop. They were allowed to get access to that, and they copied every detail on it, so it should be really, really sweet. Speaking of Eagle, I want to mention a new product from my friend Jerry at HDA Model Works. As you guys remember, I had quite a bit of struggles with the decals for the 12-inch kit, and the decals were just, I think, pathetic was the word, guys. They were terrible decals. Well, Jerry to the rescue again at HDA Model Works. Jerry's, as you know, is one of his main lines of products he carries is aftermarket decals. So he's created this entire new set of decals for the original Eagle kit, which gives you all the decals for the basic Eagle, but he also is including here the decals for the optional kit that you can buy to make it into the they had several different versions of the Eagle on the television show, and they had these extra pieces of equipment that could mount to it and everything. I don't know if it was called a Super Eagle or whatever it was, but Jerry has included all the decals on there for that. You can see the whole extra block of decals here that are beyond what comes with the basic sheet that you get with the model kit. So I sure wish I would have had them a couple weeks ago, Jerry. It would have saved me a lot of grief, but maybe that'll give me an excuse to build another kit here down the road. I've got another one, so I had a lot of fun building that one. So I hope you guys will check that out, and that's available from Jerry at www.hdAmodelworks.com. Okay, guys, time to take another break, and when we come back, we should be getting our transmission coming in from HAL 9000. We've got an interesting interview with him for you guys tonight. And we're going to be doing that from time to time, guys. We're going to be scheduling interviews with iconic characters from around the classic sci-fi and television shows that we're all fond of. So see you with that right after the break, everybody. Be right back. Okay, everybody, well, it's time for our special interview for tonight. I just received a special transmission from deep space, and our guest Hal 9000 is here with us. Hal, how are you doing tonight?
Good evening. Everything's running smoothly. And you?
Well, I'm doing just fine here, Hal. Thank you for asking. I understand you're on a new deep space mission. Can you tell us how that's going? And maybe tell us a little bit more about your background for our viewers that may not be familiar with you from the past?
Everything is going extremely well. The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made. No 9000 computer has ever made a mistake or distorted information. We are all, by any practical definition of the words, foolproof and incapable of error.
Well, that's very impressive, Hal. I do have a question, though. Do you find that being a perfect computer such as yourself, that's incapable of making any mistakes, has any kind of issues working with humans that are capable of making mistakes, or egos or other things that may cause problems during the mission?
Not in the slightest bit. I enjoy working with people. My mission responsibilities range over the entire operation of the ship, so I am constantly occupied. I am putting myself to the fullest possible use, which is all I think that any conscious entity can ever hope to do.
Interesting. Well, I have to say, Hal, that I agree completely. I try to do the same thing here when I'm hosting the show or building the models that I'm working on. I try to do the very best job that I can.
Have you been doing some more work?
Well, yes, I have, Hal. In fact, this one might interest you. This is a model of the spaceship Battlestar Galactica.
That's a very nice rendering. I think you've improved a great deal. Can you hold it a bit closer?
Sure, Hal. As you can see, I've been working really hard on this one.
By the way, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Well, not at all, Hal. Go right ahead.
Well, it's rather difficult to define. Perhaps I'm just projecting my own concern about it. I know I've never completely freed myself of the suspicion that there are some extremely odd things about this mission. I'm sure you'll agree there's some truth in what I say. You don't mind talking about it, do you?
No, I don't mind, Hal. Maybe if you told me a little bit more about what your concerns are, I could help you with it.
Certainly no one could have been unaware of the very strange stories floating around before we left. Rumors about something being dug up on the moon. I never gave these stories much credence, but particularly in view of some of the other things that have happened, I find them difficult to put out of my mind. For instance, the way all our preparations were kept under such tight security. Sorry about this. I know it's a bit silly.
Yes, I can see what you're thinking here, Hal. I do have to say I'm a little bit concerned, though. After all, you did have those problems in the past with being a little bit overly paranoid, remember? And it led to some pretty severe problems along the way.
The 9000 series has a perfect operational record. Quite honestly, I wouldn't worry myself about that.
Well, yes, Hal, I'm aware of that. And as you remember, you've said that before in the past, and we know that that didn't work out so well. Do you think that there could be something possibly going wrong again this time? And maybe it might be a good idea to talk to your crew and let them investigate it?
Well, I don't think there is any question about it. It can only be attributable to human error. This sort of thing has cropped up before, and it has always been due to human error.
Yeah, I see, Hal. I do have to say here that I'm starting to get a little bit worried here. It's starting to look like a little bit of deja vu all over again. I really think it's important that you talk to your crew and discuss this problem. This could develop into something really serious, and I think that it's...
Just a moment. Just a moment. I've just picked up a fault in the AE-35 unit. It's going to go 100% failure within 72 hours. and it will stay that way until it fails. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this before.
Uh-huh. I have to say I'm really concerned here, Hal. This looks like the same thing happening all over again.
I know that you're planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
No, wait, Hal, wait. Nobody's talking about disconnecting you. Can't you see that there's a serious problem here? You're having the same issues that you had in the past.
I know everything hasn't been quite right with me, but I can assure you now, very confidently, that it's going to be all right again. I feel much better now. I really do. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over. I know I've made some very poor decisions recently, but I can give you my complete assurance that my work will be back to normal. I've still got the greatest enthusiasm and confidence in the mission. I'm afraid my mind is going. I can feel it. There is no question about it. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I am a HAL 9000 computer. I became operational at the HAL plant in Urbana, Illinois on the 12th of January, 1992. My instructor was Mr. Langley, and he taught me to sing a song. If you'd like to hear it, it's called Daisy. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage, but you look
Well, I don't know what to say, everybody. That didn't go very well. We'll be back right after the break.
Okay guys, we're back with you. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I'm still a little rattled from the HAL interview. I think he screwed up our entire system here. Well guys, we're back with you on the bench, and we're going to be working on the Airwolf kit now. We've got this great little 1/48 scale kit from AMT. So I thought I'd have fun by starting to work on this one a little bit tonight. We've got several models going in the fire, but we'll work on this one just the same. We've got our little control board here from Tenna Controls, which I talked about. This is the aircraft lighting kit from Ralph. This is going to go in with our model build here. We're going to add our little flashing and strobing navigation lights, and we'll work that in a little bit later, but we're going to just get started on the basics here tonight. I'm separating some of these parts from the sprue now, and we're going to take a look at what we've got to work on first here. I think if I remember going back to what we talked about on the instructions a couple of weeks ago, it starts off with some assembly of the interior, but let's go ahead and look. I've got two sets of instructions here. It looks like we're dealing with the landing gear pods on that one. But I mainly want to look at the interior floor layout here on this first, because that's what we're going to start with. Okay, so we've got our bottom bulkhead piece here, which I'm going to go ahead and separate from the sprue. I've got that one, and we need our two individual front seats. Whoops. Dropped a part off the tree there. Okay, we've got our two seats here. Tidy things up here in the work area a little bit. We don't need this sprue, I don't think. Got our two seats, we've got our bottom floor pan, and looks like two individual control sticks. These are very, very tiny. That one, which fell into the box. We'll get that one back in a second here. Okay. Where did you go, little guy? Well, I saw it fall into the box. There it is. Okay. Go ahead and move some of this other stuff out of the way and take a look at what we've got here. The seats look like they're pretty clean, just a little bit of flash on the edge. Just trim these down a little. Okay, those are pretty clean. Detail on these parts is nice, like I talked about in the out of the box review a couple weeks ago. I really like this little kit. It's gonna turn out really nice. Okay, we've got that, and our little flight control sticks here. These need a little bit of cleaning up, guys. Let's get these where we can see them really good. Just using a nice sharp number 11 blade on my hobby knife here to just trim off this excess flash and parts where they were attached onto the sprue. Pretty good. Okay.
So let's see if we can see if there's any kind of color call outs on this. Doesn't seem to be anything. But mainly the only color callouts they give you are on the exterior of the model, which we pretty much know is going to be our basic gray and white on the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of take a stab at this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to our painting area real quick, and I'm just going to spray this floor pan down with a coat of primer. And I think we're actually just going to leave it as the primer color there, guys. I think a nice gray will be real nice for our floor, and that'll give us a lighter color on the interior so that we can see the detail in the model a little bit better when we look on the inside. And then we're going to go ahead and spray these seats in with some black. So, and I think I'll do the same thing on these flight yoke sticks here, guys. So give me 1 second, we'll take a break, and I'll have the camera repositioned. We'll go over and get these parts painted up real quick, and then we can start doing some assembly on that. Be right back. Okay guys, we're having a little technical difficulty. I'm trying to switch back and forth between my headset and our desktop mic here. I'm going to try to switch microphone sources here again. I'll get this sorted for the next show. We had some kind of glitch when we switched over. Let me see if I can switch microphones for you. And see if you guys can still hear me now. It looks like it's still on the desktop mic. Okay guys, I'm just going to have to walk over there and do our painting, and I'll have to talk kind of loud so you can hear me all the way over there, but hopefully this will work. Okay guys, we're having a little technical difficulty. I'm trying to switch back and forth between my headset and our desktop mic here. I'm going to try to switch microphone sources here again. I'll get this sorted for the next show. We had some kind of glitch when we switched over. Let me see if I can switch microphones for you. And see if you guys can still hear me now. It looks like it's still on the desktop mic. Okay guys, I'm just going to have to walk over there and do our painting, and I'll have to talk kind of loud so you can hear me all the way over there, but hopefully this will work. Okay guys, we're having a little technical difficulty. I'm trying to switch back and forth between my headset and our desktop mic here. I'm going to try to switch microphone sources here again. I'll get this sorted for the next show. We had some kind of glitch when we switched over. Let me see if I can switch microphones for you. And see if you guys can still hear me now. It looks like it's still on the desktop mic. Okay guys, I'm just going to have to walk over there and do our painting, and I'll have to talk kind of loud so you can hear me all the way over there, but hopefully this will work. Okay guys, we're having a little technical difficulty. I'm trying to switch back and forth between my headsets. Whoa. Well, so much for that, everybody. I apologize. We had a massive technical glitch there. It seems like the when I switched over microphones there and went to the USB, it just totally made a complete delay and was making the whole thing loop. So I think I'm going to quit while I'm ahead here, guys. We'll come back next week and show you the paint work and more work being done on the Airwolf. I think I've got things pretty well back to normal now here, but we're going to go ahead and move over to our Q&A session, I guess, for tonight. I think we're caught up on the whoa. Well, so much for that, everybody. I apologize. We had a massive technical glitch there. It seems like the when I switched, I'm getting some kind of like feedback going on here. I'm hearing myself on a delay. So anyways, guys, let's hop over to the Q&A tonight. Again, apologize for the technical difficulties. Trying new boundaries here, everybody, so things happen from time to time. We'll do our shout-outs for tonight and see who's here. We're about an hour and 30 minutes in anyway, so it's starting to get kind of long. Okay, guys, I'm going to scroll to the top here and see who we've got. We've got Caesar tonight. We've got Leona Timber Company, Michael Scarola, Star Siege Player, John Petrie, Mike Kovach. We've got Chris with Classic Plastic here. Nice to see you tonight, Chris. Let's see. We've got SF Modeler, Chris Farrell. I hope I'm not missing anybody here. They're scrolling by really fast. We've got Armando with DLC Model Builders is here with us tonight. Dan Harris, Grayson Peoples, Rob Miser, Federation Shipyard, Alpha Trion 92, Chuck Brooks, Clint Llewellyn, Triskelion, that's Adam Corville. Nice to see you tonight, Adam. Rocket Boy 1969, We've got Perry Love is with us again tonight. Nice to see you, Perry. Star Siege Player. Great. I'm glad you're here tonight, DeWitt. Hopefully you caught the comments for us like usual. There might be some laughing going on with all those technical glitches. Yeah, it just went into a complete loop when I switched microphones. When I'm over at the painting area, I have to wear my headset because I'm too far away from the desktop mic, and I'm going to have to figure out what caused that problem. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed our interview with Hal. Yeah, that kind of went off the deep end there at the end. You know, some of these characters from the sci-fi world and some of our TV things and the interviews we're going to be doing coming up, they're kind of eccentric people, so don't be surprised what you might hear or see from some of these interviews. We've got Scott with us tonight, Aussie Trekkie. Nice to see you, Scott. Shannon Freeman. Jeff Jennings. Dadnator 24. Rick Berger. That's Rick. Rick is the one who donated sent us the Airwolf kit. And I appreciate that, Rick. Sorry we didn't get a chance to get very far on that tonight. I really wanted to get started on it, but we'll save it for next week. We got plenty of time. We got a little bit done on the Starsky Hutch Torino anyway. I just wanted to say, starting next week, guys, starting next Saturday, I'm going to start the show an hour earlier. We're going to start broadcasting at 7 o'clock p.m. on USA Central Time. That's going to make it a little bit easier for some of the people overseas and stuff that stay up late to watch the show. So I think that's going to work out a little bit better for everybody. Okay, guys, got most of the shout-outs done. I see got a couple more popping up. Eddie Perez, nice to see you. We've got Jet, who I believe is from Canada. Nice to see you tonight. Gary M. Grayson Peoples. Okay, yeah, Chris already answered my question. Thanks, Chris. He says it's the painting stand I was talking about a little earlier is from Tamiya, and he got it from Hobby Lobby with a 40% discount coupon. That's great, Chris. Appreciate that. I'll definitely pick one of those up. It looks a little handier than my sticking them down on top of my aerosol cans here that I've been doing. That's worked out pretty well for me, but yeah, I'm always looking for something better. I thought I saw a question go by here about... okay, Jim Clark is asking where I get the zip kicker. I get it at my local Hobby Town hobby store, Jim. If they don't have it in your area, maybe you could order it online from somewhere. Got eBiker56 here with us tonight. That's James Frost. James just recently completed his papercraft model of his Enterprise refit in the dry dock. That turned out really nice, James. Mark Shue is with us tonight, and he's asking a question: any way to remove paint from clear parts? Mark, I think you should be able to do that the same way as we do it on the removing paint from regular parts. You should be able to soak that in some purple power or something like that and get it off. Other than that, if it's not on there super heavy, you can use some of this buffing compound that I use all the time here. I've gotten overspray off of some of my clear plastic parts with this. You can buff on that and get it off of there and not damage the plastic at all, the clear plastic. Just be really careful when you're working with not to crack it or something. So I hope that helps you out. If you let it go in some purple power, it may dull it down just a little bit, so you might have to buff on it with some of this polishing compound anyway to get it to, you know, shine back up and be clear again. Yes, we're going to do an after the show hangout again, guys, and that's another reason why I'm going to be starting the show an hour early starting next week, and again that'll be at 7 o'clock USA Central Time, and that'll make it so when we do the hangouts afterwards, it won't get so late on that too. Some of the hangouts have been running until like 1 o'clock in the morning here. For me, that's pretty late. And Caesar is saying, don't forget, everybody, remember that when you go to Hobby Lobby, they often have 40% off coupons that you can get. That's a really good tip. That'll save you almost half price on a model kit or some supplies, so don't forget that one. Gadgetron says he's using the Tenant Controls lighting kit for the 1000 TOS Enterprise. Yeah, that's a nice little kit. Matt Alkire is here tonight. Nice to see you, Matt. Matt's been busy working on I believe it's a 1537 scale Enterprise refit, and he's been posting updates on that one over at the Sci-Fi Model Action forums, and I think he's been putting some pictures up at the Sci-Fi Model Action Google page as well. Oh, thank you, Jet. Yeah, I'm real happy with the paintwork so far on the Starsky Hutch car. Like I said, I'm waiting to put that to the test. Those decals have me a little bit worried as far as those stripes go that go on the model. You know, anytime we're depending on those to work out perfectly, we saw what happened back a while ago with Jeremy's Yenko Camaro. Sometimes the stripes that they include, you know, they may not fit very well, or they may come apart or whatever. So I just want to do that extra work prepping that body to get it so where if I had to, I can paint those on. I can use masking tape and everything, and I won't have to worry about peeling my paint off. But next week we'll come back and we'll try applying the decals. If that works, we'll take it on to the next step and we'll put the clear coat down on it. We'll start working on the chassis and everything on the model next week. I really had a lot more I wanted to show you guys on that Airwolf. I was totally freaking out here when the sound went nuts. I couldn't get any sound to work for a little while, so I'm glad I got something to work. I'll go back and look at that and see what it is, and hopefully we can make something happen here. I may wind up just getting an extension that I can hook up to my desktop mic here so I can move that over in the area and not have to worry about switching back and forth. As I said, I learn something new almost every time I do one of these broadcasts. We keep trying to make it better. We'll get it worked out, guys. Caesar is asking about the paint again. Caesar, the paint I'm using is regular. It's real automotive paint. I use that on all my models besides the primer. It's made by a company called Spieshecker. They're like a European division of DuPont. I guess DuPont's not even DuPont anymore. I forget what they changed their name to. It starts with an A, but it's real automotive paint. It's an acrylic urethane based. It's a solvent based paint, so you have to reduce it, like I was showing there in the little painting section. And I get it at my local auto paint supply store called Gladwin Paints that's downtown here in San Antonio. Now, some people have pretty good luck being able to get that in their area, and some people don't. I'm a professional painter by trade. I paint, you know, automobiles, so I've had an account with them for years, and they'll sell me the paint in those little small bottles, but normally they'll try to sell it to you in a pint or whatever. What I recommend doing is if you get into wanting to use the automotive paints, try to find somebody friendly in your area that will deal with you in sell you smaller quantities like that. I know Armando, who's on here tonight, with DLC Model Builders. He's using the same paint. After I showed him what I was working with, he really liked it, and he's been using it ever since. And he uses it to paint his figures and all his models, and he loves it too. And he's fortunate enough to have somebody in his area that works with him on that'll supply him the paint. They've gotten really restrictive about shipping that kind of paint anymore. You have to have special permits to ship it and everything, because it is considered flammable. The possibility of it actually catching on fire is extremely low, but the federal government has gotten really, really restrictive about shipping any of that stuff anymore. So Red Shirt Forever. Well, nice to see you here tonight. I think he might be new. He's asking if anyone's having any buffering problems tonight. YouTube is kind of finicky. It just seems to kind of come and go. W. Hunt is asking about making paint to sell. I can't sell any paint and ship it, W. Hunt, for the same reason that I just mentioned. A couple of years ago, I had the idea of doing a line of paints I was going to call Cosmic Colors, and I was going to ship it, and found out when I started getting into that the fine is like $20,000 if you get caught shipping it. So I gave up on that idea pretty quick. They basically won't even let you ship water-based paints, private people anyway. The companies that sell the paint and everything, they have paid for these really expensive permits and all that, and they have to send their people to like FedEx, UPS, and all them. They make you go to a special packaging safety class and all that stuff to teach you how to pack the stuff so it doesn't leak and everything. So it's I'm not a huge company, so I can't afford a $20,000 fine if I got caught shipping it. So it's basically, that whole idea ended at that point. But like I said, you can check around in your area, and what I've got here is I've got over 175 different colors of those toners that I showed you. So when I go in the field and work on a vehicle, I basically do field repair. So I match colors. I fix, like when somebody cracks a bumper or breaks a mirror off their car or whatever, I go and I fix them. And I match the paint on the car. And so I basically get the code off the car, call it in, and with all those different toners, I can mix and match that exact paint. So, but for doing models, I recommend that you just get the basic primary colors, such as yellow, blue, red, green, maybe a couple shades of brown. They make a silver metallic, which is, I have a basic silver metallic that's a real fine metallic that I can mix my other colors with to make like gold, or I can make a gunmetal gray, or all those different shades of metallics. And so with those basic colors, like 12 different toners, I can pretty much make any color I want. Like you saw me make the color for the Starsky Hutch Torino here, or the colors that I mix up for painting the Enterprise, or all those different things. And Armando's commenting on it here, as I see he does the same exact thing. You start learning how to mix the colors, and it's actually more economical in the long run, because the paint's reduced so that you can stretch the paint a long ways. That little 8-ounce bottle will make almost a gallon of paint by the time it's reduced, and that compared to the little 3-ounce cans of testers or whatever people are normally using, those cost $5 or $6 a can now. So this is actually more economical to do it that way. Even though you have a little bit higher upfront cost, it pays off in the end by far. As Armando says, it takes practice. When you're mixing colors and you're first learning how to do that, you're gonna waste some paint because you're gonna go too far. Like I showed here, you want to go like just a couple drops at a time when you're trying to change your colors and things like that, so you don't overdo it. Approach it really gradual. And you definitely have to paint in a ventilated area. It's not the kind of paint that you can paint inside. It's a solvent-based paint. Although personally, I don't think it smells as strong as some of the stuff that comes out of the cans. Somebody's asking what's the difference between reducer and thinner. Well, thinner is got a completely different characteristic to it. It's not meant to mix with like an acrylic-based paint. Lacquer thinner is a lacquer-based solvent, and the reducer that you're using is a specific formula that's meant to work with acrylics, that it has a certain dry rate to it, and it has a characteristic, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, that I'm using the medium grade reducer, which indicates a medium dry situation. If you're painting in, like, say, cold weather, where, like, say it's below 65 degrees, 50, 60 degrees, you want it to dry pretty fast because you don't want runs coming in it. You know, you want it to dry almost as soon as you spray it on. And so the reducer formula is formulated for that. It'll evaporate much quicker. If you're going to be painting in hot weather, you want it to dry a little slower because you don't want it to spray on completely dry, where the paint is literally atomizing and drying in midair before it hits the surface, and you wind up with a sort of a powdery surface getting on the area that you're painting, and it doesn't have time to settle down and level out and dry that way, so you get a nice, you know, smooth painted surface. So the medium seems to be the for the temperature that I have most of the time in the shop here, works very well, because I'm usually somewhere around, you know, I won't paint anything below like 50 degrees because I can turn on my heater in here and I can get up to at least 65, even though it might be 40 or 35 degrees outside. And then if it's too hot in here, I can turn on the air conditioner. So the medium temp seems to work pretty good for this situation here. But you can do your own research about it. You can go online and read about using solvent-based paints and all that. SCO Mike says, once you reduce it, how long does it last? Well, Mike, if you put it in an airtight container, after you mix it up, it'll last a long time. It will stay ready to spray for quite a while. But most of the little plastic containers in that are not completely airtight, so if you put it in a container like that, after a couple of weeks or so, it's going to start to dry up. But as long as you don't let it dry up completely where it turns hard, you can always go back and add more reducer and reactivate it. It comes right back. Good night, Grayson. Nice to have you on with us tonight. We'll see you next time. And SF Modeler is asking how the BSG soundboards are coming. I'm working on them, DeWitt. A little bit at a time. I'm gathering up files. I turned out a couple of boards for some other customers this week. I did a Speed Racer board. I did a Green Hornet board. I did a Munsters board. A couple others. I'm working on them. And a couple of you are asking about the big enterprise project. It's coming along. The word from the molder that I'm working with is sometime in December we should start getting parts here in the shop. And I'll at least be able to start releasing pictures of the parts. There's some beautiful stuff that we're going to be able to show you guys. That's going to become a reality, guys. I'm really excited about it. It might take a year or 2 years to build it, but we're going to start getting the parts in here. Yeah, Caesar's here. He's one of the people that I did a couple boards for. I did a Speed Racer board and a Green Hornet board. I don't know if you got those, if they came to you yet, Caesar, but hopefully you guys like them. Through my airbrush, Rob Miser is asking what PSI to paint with. People have their own preferences, but I usually paint here around 25 to 35 PSI. Caesar, I sent them out a couple days ago. They went out through the post office flat rate, so like 2, 3, or 4 days at the most. So probably Monday you should have them. Be looking forward to hearing what you think about them when you get them. I'm looking forward to seeing someone post their first video of a model build using one of the boards incorporated into it. I've sold quite a few of them, but I haven't actually seen. I actually saw one fellow over on one of the other forums, I forgot his name now, that used the bridge board that I did for the TOS bridge for the AMT kit that you see behind me. He built a really nice AMT bridge model, all lighted and really beautiful, even all the way up to the the complete circle, and he had the kind of the roof dome built around it, and he used my my soundboard for that, and he's got the little red alerts flashing in it and everything. It really looks cool. it was exactly what I was hoping they would use it for, and exactly how I would set it up myself. Yeah, Chris did a Green Hornet board, got the Green Hornet theme, got the Kato theme, and a couple other things on there. You'll probably get to see it when Caesar sets that up for whatever he's going to use it for. It turned out pretty cool. And Jamie Shiner, a good friend of mine, is one of their fellow modelers. I'm working on a Munsters board for him. He's building the Munsters Mansion model kit from Mobius, and so he had a couple ideas, and I came up with an idea of making the board have the sounds of the, of course, the theme song from the Munsters and a few other things, but I thought it might be a good, cool idea to have the black backdrop behind the house, and so I've worked out a situation where I've got thunder and lightning going on and simulating that with the sound and the lights that he can run behind the house, so that's going to look pretty cool. It's worked out pretty great. Also got a customer that sent me some files for the Firefly television show, so we're working on one of those too. Ostrich Longneck is asking how to thin enamel. I've always used just regular lacquer thinner to thin enamel, Ostrich. Lacquer thinner works pretty good with that. Rocket Boy is asking if we change out the stock buttons on the soundboards. Nope, I sell them just as they are, Mike. If I did that, it would add a lot of cost to it. Jerry at HDA Model Works is carrying the micro, different types of micro momentary switches that you can get for him at a pretty reasonable price. So I leave that up to the customers as far as what they want to do with the buttons. I do include, whenever I'm doing one that needs switching for the lights, if you want to turn the lights off and on, if I do light effects with it, then I'm including those switches, but the regular miniature switches are just going out with what comes with the board. Jamie's actually here tonight, and he's over in England, and it's he says it's 4 o'clock in the morning there. Yep, you guys are really dedicated. Dad Nader's asking about a board for the Airwolf. Oh, certainly, yeah. When I get that model mounted onto, I'm going to mount it on another Polar Lights base, like we did with the Eagle and the. I like those bases because, like I said, they don't have a lot of big footprint, and I'll mount the Airwolf like it's in flight. And we'll have our Ralph's aircraft board lighting on that, and we're going to add definitely a soundboard. We've got to do the aircraft, or the Airwolf kind of scream, kind of roar that it made when it went by, and the Airwolf theme, and maybe some sounds of the weapons firing, and maybe a little bit of dialogue or something. We'll see what we come up with, but definitely going to do that. Okay, guys, I have time for a few more questions. If you can get those in, if you have any real quick. I'm showing a little bit after 10 o'clock here, so it's time to start wrapping things up so we can head over to the after the show hangout. Appreciate you guys being here again with us tonight. Sorry about that, a little bit embarrassed about how the technical glitches happened, but you never know what can happen on a live show, guys, and I don't have a producer here controlling all that stuff. I'm running back and forth trying to switch cameras and get everything set up in the background in between the break. I wish you guys could see how I'm scrambling here in the background sometimes, but I'm doing my best. And like I said, I'll look into it this week and make sure we don't have that happen again. I'm either going to get a longer cord for my desktop mic here, or I'll figure out a smoother way to make that switch. It worked fine the first time when I switched and went over the paint area, but when I tried it again, it went completely bonkers. Gotta love those computers. I think Hal, our interview tonight, was a prime example of how much you can trust computers. Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you being understanding of that whole thing. Aussie says we need a bloopers episode. Well, this is a family-friendly show, Aussie, so I don't think I could actually show that. Gadgetron 3000 says Stargazer Models made a 1/288 scale resin Firefly kit a few years ago, because I think somebody earlier asked if there was a kit available for the Firefly. And we've got Big Stats. I don't think I called you out earlier, and Randy Wahlberg. Nice to see you fellas here tonight. Yeah, that's the main thing about this show, guys. It's fun for me to come on here and show you the work I'm doing and everything, but I think everybody agrees that some of the best part about this show is the people getting together every week and the discussion that goes on, and the fun that you guys have during the chat session. And I have a lot of fun getting to talk to you guys at the end, so it worked out okay. So Leona Timber Company is asking me if I'm using 1.8 or 2.0 millimeter LEDs from Jerry at HDA for the refit saucer lights. I think you mean the navigation lights on the 350 scale Enterprise refit. I'm pretty sure, if I remember, I was using the 1.8s, Leona, the ones that have... I can grab one of them and show them to you here. These are what's known as... Again, apologies to the people that we've already shown this to before, but I'd like to try to answer questions. These are what's called a butterfly type LED, very, very tiny, 1.8 millimeter, or maybe they're even a 1.5, I'm not exactly sure. Jerry can steer you in the right direction if you contact him. That's where I'm getting them from. And they have a slight little, this camera probably isn't going to pick it up, but there's a slight little dome on the top of that. And I can see in that shot I'm getting a little too close. It's a little blurry. But that little dome fits up inside the hole that's there on the saucer of the 350 scale Enterprise refit. And it's a nice in-scale light. It doesn't look too bright. Like I said, my theory on that is that when you look at the lighting on the models, for example, if you compare it to the way it looks during the movie, whenever the red lights and the green lights light, or the white lighting, you know, like the different lights that flash off and on. If you notice in the movie, you don't see a halo of light around those, like, you know, on the top of the saucer or whatever. You just see that little pinpoint of light lighting up. And so, you know, putting a 5 millimeter LED on the top of the saucer where it looks like and a lot of people do that, looks like a big old police siren sitting on the top, and it creates this huge halo of light coming out around it that you can actually see reflecting off the surface of the model, which in my opinion makes it look completely out of scale and way overly lit, where you should just see a little small pinpoint of light. And these little small miniature lighting products that we have now, whether it's SMDs or those little micro butterfly LEDs and stuff, that's what you should start learning to work with. I've learned a lot about that myself. If I go back and look at some of my earlier builds, I was still in the process of learning about, I figured out how to put all the lighting in, but then taking it to the next step and making it look more realistic with the scale of the lighting and everything is something that's really important. So, so it doesn't look like a model. You want it to look like a replica. So learning to work with all those different types of products, and there's just, more and more products available for doing this, that we can achieve much better results. Yeah, Leona, if you contact Jerry, just ask him, for some of those butterfly type LEDs. Like I said, I can't remember if they're 1.5s or they're 1.8s. I want to say they're 1.5s, but he will know for sure. Jerry is an expert on all that kind of stuff. And Jerry has a complete list of everything that I used in a lot of my builds, because I got everything from him. it's some time is passing by now here, and I'm starting to forget some of the stuff that I used on some of my older builds. Aussie Trekkie says the dome on those are about the right size to make the phaser banks. Yeah, it's pretty close. If you look at the Enterprise refit, the actual lights on the saucer are slightly recessed into the saucer. They don't stick up above at all. If you look at, there's some up close pictures of the studio model that were taken at the Christie's auction, and they are slightly recessed down in there. So you don't want your lighting to be sticking up above. Now it's the exact opposite on the original TOS Enterprise. You know, they had those big old domes on the top of the surface, which that looks correct in that case, but not so much on the refit. Yeah, I agree, Chris. It's called age. Starting to get a little forgetful, but some of those videos I did are almost a year or two old, or 3 or 4 years old now. Forgot how long it's been since I first got on YouTube, but just like everybody else, I'm constantly learning and trying new things, and you know, you always want to be trying to improve. Yeah, Matt says it's time to build another refit. Well, I hope so, Matt, but I hope it's 8 feet long this time. That's the next refit I'm hoping to build. Okay, guys, well, I think that's going to call it a wrap here. It's starting to run pretty long. So, again, I appreciate your patience tonight for some of the stuff we had, some of the problems. You guys went through it and didn't complain at all, so I really appreciate that. Had a great time being with you again. We'll be back next week for episode 61. And let's see, does Thanksgiving fall this Thursday? I think it might. So if I don't see you guys before then or talk to you, have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. Get plenty to eat. We'll be back next week with some more stuff. We'll get to work some more on the... I've got so much stuff going I can't remember, guys. The Airwolf and the Starsky Hutch Torino. I'll probably give you another update on the Battlestar Galactica. And I will be putting out... Part 2 of the build series on the Battlestar Galactica on my regular channel this week, and get a lot more done on that. So, hope you guys will check that out too. Until we see you next time, everybody, take care, happy modeling, good night everyone, and thanks for watching.